The review of assisted dying laws, or the End of Life Choice Act, is required to happen this year, but it could be years before any changes are made, if at all. Health Minister Shane Reti is drawing up the terms of reference for the review with the help of coalition partners, including ACT Party leader David Seymour, who, as I said just before the break, campaigned on the issue and successfully passed the country's assisted dying laws through Parliament. The legislation was rubber-stamped after the public voted in favour through a 2020 referendum. And David is with me now. David Seymour, good afternoon.
Hey Leah, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Now, let's jump straight in. What would you like to be changed specifically?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that I regard as sort of unfinished business from when the law passed back in 2019. The original version that I introduced said that you had to have a grievous and irremediable medical condition, and that sounds like a lot of jargon, but what it means is that you are not well, you're getting steadily worse, you have been for some time, and you will die from the illness sooner or later, and you're suffering badly. Now, those things are all there, but in passing the law, I had to make a compromise at the time, which was to put in an extra clause that you must be terminally ill within 6 months of the time that you seek assisted dying. Now, that has meant that a huge number of people, now well into the hundreds over the last 2.5 years, have been able to have an assisted death. They've had choice and control in how they go, mainly people with cancer, where it's clear that they're going to die from it quite soon. What is different is the group of people, and it's a smaller group of people, but people with neurodegenerative diseases, for example, some of them would regard themselves as suffering really badly. They're not going to die within 6 months, but in a way, that is exactly what they fear, and they'd like to have choice and control so that they can choose how they go and when they go, on their terms with their timing. Now, of course, because they are not necessarily going to die within 6 months, they can't make that choice. And I've always hoped that one day Parliament would change that, now that people have seen that the things that people said about assisted dying, that it was all going to be terrible and there'd be ambulances driving around picking up grandma, which was always stupid. But there was a time when the opponents were allowed to cast enough fear, uncertainty and doubt in people's mind and get away with it. Now you can't hear from those people because it was obviously untrue. And now I think it's time to have a rational conversation about how can some of those people with those long-term degenerative diseases have a choice if they want it.
What would you be wanting, David? Because I know that heard from Tina McCaffrey, she's the Chief Executive of Tōtara Hospice. She agrees, saying that she would like it extended to 12 months or removed altogether. Did you have an idea? Is removing it altogether the right move?
Well, I think so. The bill that I originally proposed, but before it got into Parliament and we started making compromises to get it through, that was actually, it had no time limit. You just had to have that grievous and irremediable condition.
Right.
I still, people always said, you want to introduce it and it'll slide back. Actually, no. I just want it to be the way that it was originally proposed. And, had I not had to make a compromise to get 8 votes from the Green Party back in 2018 or whenever exactly it was, then that's how it would have been.
Another area where there was consensus for review were the rules that stop doctors from being able to discuss assisted dying with their patients. Am I right in saying patients needed to raise the medical intervention with their doctor? So basically it was like a gag clause on doctors. Is that something you want removed as well?
Yeah, that's right. So the law as it stands says that a doctor cannot raise the issue or the topic with a patient. The patient has to explicitly say, I want to talk about this, can you tell me about it?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that it's a big one either way. But, again, I think that the original concern was that doctors would suggest it to people and then all of a sudden, without knowing it, they'd be off down the track to assisted dying. It's actually an enormously bureaucratic process that I helped create, ironically. So that was never the case. It was never really a worry, but it was one of those things that was done to reassure people. And again, I think now that we've had nearly 3 years of it, overwhelmingly it's worked well. I still get messages all the time from people saying, look, I'm really glad that my relative was able to have choice and control. They were really grateful for it before they passed. Well, I think we're in a stage now where you can have a rational debate about some of these things.
I understand because, I mean, not everyone is articulate, obviously, when it comes to, their health literacy and they might not know how to raise it with the doctor. Would there have been pushback, say, if this, we'll call it the gagging of the doctors, would there be some doctors that say it's against their Hippocratic oath to advise to a patient, well, there is this as well?
Yeah, there certainly are doctors who want nothing to do with assisted dying, just like there's a lot of patients who want nothing to do with it. I've always said the number one principle here is choice. You don't have, the law doesn't force anyone to do anything. It simply allows people if they choose. So certainly I wouldn't support a law that said every doctor had to suggest assisted dying. I just think that the law shouldn't stop them if they think it's right in the context of giving their patients all of the relevant options.